Hey guys, welcome back and welcome into the new year because I say that because this is my first Futurama video and my first actual video that I'm gonna be doing for 2022. So, because of that, I just felt it would be necessary to mention that. Also, I just want to mention two things. Um, because of what I've been seeing on YouTube in terms of the Gotham Knights release, I'm just gonna get off topic with this because this is gonna be a History of Futurama video, but I'm just gonna get off topic here. In terms of video games, I'm not really all that concerned with the release date of Warner Brothers Games Montreal's game Batman Gotham Knights. It doesn't really matter to me when that game comes out, really. If it comes out before Suicide Squad or if it comes out after it, it doesn't really matter. And it doesn't even matter to me, even if it gets delayed into 2023. But I hope it doesn't. I'm just bringing this up because I saw a YouTube video before I started recording this about a YouTuber being worried about Gotham Knights release. Personally, I'm not worried about it. I just wanted to get that out of the way. And if it does get released this year before, it does. But if it doesn't, there's always next year. That's the takeaway I find from this. Now, I'm going to get actually back on topic of the actual video. I just wanted to get that out of the way for the first minute. But anyway, this is History of Futurama Season 3, Episode 12 of my show, which is also going to be about Episode 12. And Episode 12 in the third season of Futurama is known as Insane in the Main Frame. Now, before I start talking about this actual episode, I just want to mention that something because I find the title kind of funny because it's sort of like that brain rhyme, when you say someone's insane, insane in the membrane, except insane in the mainframe. So it has to do with a robot term, and then I just wanted to bring that little brain pun up because of the fact that actually will get referenced in one of the other episodes of the season that I'm going to be doing that has to focus on fighting the brains. I just want to get that part out of the way. Anyway, basically the way this episode starts off is Bender and Fry are basically in the bank waiting in line, and then basically what happens is, before I continue, I should just mention this very quickly with Fry. This episode's gonna be a comedic episode with him because of what's gonna happen. I'll explain what the comedic part about him is when I get to the later segment of the episode. I just wanted to get that part out of the way. Anyway, Bender and Fry are standing outside this bank along with another robot who Bender remembers as a friend. And now the other robot that he meets is an old friend of his named Roberto. Now, funny thing about Roberto is he's basically a lunatic of a robot. He's basically someone who belongs in a robot insane asylum. Now I'm gonna mention how I know that the character's name. I know him because I watched the series on Disney Plus, and I also know him because of the Futurama Game of Thrones app, because in 2 segments of that game's story mode for a match 4 game, he was the boss of 2 of the chapters and stuff. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way basically, Bender wonders how Roberto's been doing since he last saw him, and then he says he's been doing all right, and then he basically holds the bank up, like he causes a stick up, basically, which is basically your, essentially holding the bank hostage so that it's easy for you to rob them and stuff. Oh my god. And then basically, right before he leaves, because Bender helps him with stealing the money for the stick-up, basically what happens is, after that, he gives the money to Bender and Fry, which then the security camera catches it, and then basically Fry and Bender go on trial to testify. I just wanted to get that part of the way. Anyway, now getting into the portion with the trial, basically what happens is, there's a hyper chicken lawyer that's basically Fry and Bender's defense basically asks the security camera during this trial to, if he remembers the events that happened on that particular day, and then the security camera robot says that his memory is kind of fuzzy, that he says something like this, and he shows an image of Roberto giving Bender and Fry bags of money, and then the hyper chicken, who's Bender and Fry's lawyer in this point, is like, "Your Honor, I move that I be disbarred for showing this evidence against my own clients." And then basically, that's when Fry gets called to the stand in the episode, and then basically the hyper chicken basically asks him if he recognizes any of the robots, the robot handing him the money in this here video, and then he says that he does it and never forgets it because that's the real criminal. But then he sees Roberto, who's basically disguised, and then Roberto makes a phone call, which the judge answers, and the judge says, "What? You're saying that if I testify, I'll be killed?" But then after a while, I'm guessing because Roberto asked him to give the phone to Fry so he could tell him, because basically he tells him that, "And the other hamburger will also be made of your lungs. Think about that if you planning on squealing." And then basically after the phone call, Fry puts the phone down, and he says that he refuses to testify on the grounds that his lungs will be turned into a hamburger patty. And basically, so basically, because of Roberto intimidating him not into testifying in sort of squealing, he doesn't testify. And then basically after that, what happens is, after that, the judge sentences Bender to be sent to a robot insane asylum, which I'm just gonna mention what the robot insane asylum is called. It's called the Institute for Criminally Insane Robot, the Hal Institute for Criminally Insane Robots. And then basically the judge sentences Fry to a prison cell until he's rehabilitated. But then the security guard there is telling the judge that, "Your Honor, that place has been full ever since," well, basically he wanted to send Fry to a human mental asylum, and then, but the security guard that's there told him, "Your Honor, that place has been full ever since you declared that being poor was a mental illness. And then the judge basically counteracts the security guards' basic order by saying that the only poor people he wants to hear about are the people that work at Tanda's house, and then because of that he decides to send them both to the robot insane asylum. Oh my god, I'm sorry, but that's hilarious. The reason he sends Fry to the same place he's sending Bender is because of a technicality that was caused because of the security guard who contradicted him for saying that being poor with a mental illness, which he tried to downplay because he... Oh, I'm sorry. That's just funny. Anyway, now getting back into what I was saying, after the judge decides to have them both sent to the robot insane asylum, they have both Fry and Bender packaged in a box that says with tape on it, that says, and a sign that says defective hardware, and then the guard starts rolling the package up and down one way, and then Fry, while it's getting rolled up and down one way, Fry's like, ow, my head, ow, my feet, ow, ow, my head, ow, my feet, ow, my head, ow, my feet. And then the professor's like, keep your chin up. And then he basically, when he tumbles another time, Fry's like, ow, my chin. Which is essentially like him saying, my feet kind of thing, with it's his chin this time. And then basically Fry gets sent to the robot insane asylum, like I said. And in the next scene, what happens is he's at the robot insane asylum with this robot that's named Dr. Perceptron. And then he basically, but first, Fry tries to explain that he doesn't belong here because he's not a robot. And then basically, Dr. Perceptron zaps him because he'll be the one asking the questions. And then he basically says that to consider the following possibilities. He was sentenced to a robot insane asylum, so obviously he must be a robot. And then it's the gate closed, and then Nurse Ratched comes to take him to his room and stuff. Now the fact of Fry being sent to a robot insane asylum is gonna play a hand in the funny segments of the rest of this episode, because he spends so much time in that asylum that he goes crazy and starts to think he's an actual robot. Oh my god, I'm sorry, but that's kind of hilarious. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I just find that so hilarious. And then basically what happens is Nurse Ratched says that is he ready to meet his roommate, and she tells him that his roommate is malfunctioning Eddie. And then Fry remembers malfunctioning Eddie because he's like, the car dealer? Man, his prices must have been insane. And then Nurse Ratched explains to him that malfunctioning Eddie is very excitable, so don't say anything to surprise him. But what happens is when malfunctioning Eddie gets introduced to Fry, Fry does say something to surprise him because he's like, pleased to meet you, and then Fry says that they already met, which causes him to be surprised by that, which causes him to explode. And that's part of the reason why he was sent to the robot insane asylum, not because he was a criminally insane person, but because he had a serious exploding problem that happened when he got surprised. Oh, so the reason he was sent to the asylum was to basically get medicated to find a way to minimize the chances of him exploding a lot by being surprised, which in context to this episode, it's gonna have a positive effect in a later segment of it, because I just wanted to get that part out of the way though, because of that. Anyway, basically, in the next scene, what happens is the others manage to, the other members of the Planet Express crew basically, well, first, Fry is basically, having lunch in the Robot Insane Asylum cafeteria, but he can't eat it because it's basically oil stuff, and basically the robot that looks like a teapot thing is telling him to bait them a couple of times to change places, so he keeps getting bumped by other robots, and then Bender says that this place is great, and then basically Fry says it's not great because he's not a robot, and then basically he's telling him to quit whining and take it like a robot, and then basically what happens is in the next scene they actually allow visitors to come visit, so Victor, the salesperson for malfunctioning Eddie's car dealership, comes by to visit him for a bit and said that the doctor told him that Eddie's been making progress with his exploding problem. And then he said that he thinks it, and then that he's very surprised, which then causes him to explode, causing him to cause a big explosion. But like I said, his exploding problem will be down to a minimal amount in the scene where he gets released. Now I'm just gonna mention that because it's gonna cause a funny thing with Fry in the end. But anyway, basically Fry is asking the others to get him out. They gotta get him out of this asylum, and he tells them he would have gone insane. He would have starved to death and gone insane if it wasn't for that sick food vending machine robot. And then basically, they said that they're all pulling for him, and they petitioned the governor, but apparently the governor in the episode doesn't want to do it because apparently he doesn't want to look weak on people who have been falsely imprisoned. Oh my god, which is kind of a silly thing for the reason why he wouldn't be fine with because of that. And then basically, before I continue, I should just mention the part where they brought the robots up to the scanner, because of the fact that Fry was human and he wasn't a robot. His insides were affected from the X-ray laser and stuff. Oh my god. Which basically caused him some pain because of it. And then I just wanted to backtrack to that part because I found it was kind of funny because he wasn't a robot, so it hurt it because it was in an X-ray machine that was designed for robots and not humans. I just wanted to backtrack there. And then he basically says that, getting back into what I was stating earlier with the episode, Fry says that at least he's got friends on the outside, and he tells them that Bender's not been any help at all, and then basically Bender starts acting like Napoleon, and then basically, Amy tells them that Bender should be more concerned about this than usual, and then basically worried about this than usual, and then basically what happens is, Nurse Ratched tells them that visiting hours are over and it's now time for them to take their medication discs. Oh my god. And then right as the professor's about to leave, basically Fry's telling him to help him, for God's sake, and then the professor mentions that he too had spent time in a robot insane asylum, but now it's almost over, and then basically in the next scene, what happens is Dr. Perceptron shows up to release one of them, and then when he said that they're being released, Fry thinks that he's the one being released, and he's like, finally, sweet justice, sweet juicy justice. But then Dr. Perceptron mentions that it's not him who's getting released, it's malfunctioning Eddie. And this leads into what I was stating with the reason as to why malfunctioning Eddie was in the insane asylum, was because to help his exploding problem whenever he got surprised. Exploding problem whenever he got surprised and everything. And when he gets surprised this time, he only causes a miniature explosion, and he gets happy about that. And then Dr. Perceptron mentions that they can control that with medication. And then basically Nurse Ratched basically brings in Fry's new roommate, which happens to be Roberto. Oh my god, which is the same robot who technically has him sent to this insane asylum, and they, along with Bender, because they had took the fall for him instead of squealing. And then when Fry sees him, he wonders what Roberto's doing here, and then Roberto mentions that he got caught trying to rob that bank again. And then Fry wonders, because he's like, why would you hold up the same place twice? Why would you rob the same place twice? And then Roberto mentions that first time was just a case to join and rob it a little. Which is funny because of that. And then basically what happens is he starts trying to practice his stabbing skills. And then he's telling Fry to stand still while he practices. And he's like, oh, come on, man. What? You call yourself a robot? And then Fry's like, I am not a robot. I am not a robot. Oh! And then Dr. Perceptron releases Fry to the other, and then he starts acting like a robot and saying beep. And then basically, after they release him, they try to get him back to his normal self because he thinks he's a robot because he spent too much time in a robot insane asylum. Oh my god, because he thinks he's a robot, he thinks he's both a tool bot, a food motron, and a calculus droid and stuff. Oh my god, I'm just mentioning that because it's kind of funny. And the funniest thing is, when he tries to pretend to be a calculus droid, what he does is he throws Hermes' calculator into the incineration device, and he's like, that was my anniversary gift to La Mama! Which is just basically his wife and stuff, and then basically what happens is he tries to make sense of the symbols, and then Hermes mentions that that's a plus sign, and when he says that he doesn't know the meaning of this symbol, and then Hermes is like, that's a plus sign, Unity! Quit thinking you're a robot! And then he starts talking like yee and stuff. And the funny thing, there's also a funny segment with him with Zoidberg, where he's like, when Zoidberg comes in and sees all the beer cans, beer bottles on the floor, he's like, by the scallops forelock! What's with all the beer, Fry? Alcohol! And Bender, and Fry says that as a robot, he's like, alcohol fuels my power cells, and as a mighty robot, and then he falls unconscious. And there's also the scene where he tries to be a tool pod to turn the screws, and it doesn't work, and then basically he's also trying to hand them sandwiches from his compartment, and they don't want to eat it because he went in his pants and they don't know for how long. And I just wanted to get those little bits out of the way there. And then basically, and when he was trying to be a tool bot, basically Leela tried to snap him out of it by reminding him of his humanity by the only way a woman can. But then basically the professor thought that she meant he was going to do his laundry, and then Amy slapped him, and then hits him, and then it seems to work, but he starts acting like a robot again. And then basically what happens is, not getting back into the segment, with where he was drinking the alcohol and he became unconscious. What happens is basically Bender and Roberto try to escape the insane asylum. And Bender wonders what Roberto is out doing, and Roberto explains to him that he's in this case because he's thinking of escaping. And he's wondering, he's like, are you in? Or do I gotta kill ya so you won't squeal? And then he says, he's in. And then basically he wonders when are they gonna start escaping, and then Roberto's like, I'm thinking maybe a few seconds ago. And then Bender's saying that, quick, let's keep us. Then basically Bender's tells them, quick, let's keep escaping. So they keep running, and they manage to escape the asylum. And then basically what happens is after that, Roberto does the thing to thank Bender for helping him escape that place, which in this case is getting him some more money by holding up the same bank. And he's like, and then Bender gets impressed, but Roberto's like, wow, holding up the same place 3 times? I admire your style, Roberto. And then he basically tells the woman at the cash register to basically give him all the money that's left in the register plus jewelry, and then the police show up, and then basically what happens is they're telling him not to do anything, and the human officer is saying that not to try anything because the glass is laser proof, but Roberto doesn't have a laser blaster, he just has the knife, so he breaks the glass using the knife that he has in his hand, and then the cop with the human cop with the robot cop tells them to fire their lasers, but because the glass is laser proof, the laser gets reflected back to them, and then he's like, look out, lasers! And then Bender tells Roberto to follow him because he's got a place he likes to hide out after crime, and Roberto still uses the glass as a shield, even though the glass is laser proof, so it doesn't affect the glass, so it just bounces off, but it's still an effective way to use it as a shield. And then basically what happens is when Amy realizes that Fry's sleeping on the couch, he thinks that he's like a little insane drunken angel because of it, which is kind of true because he's a little insane because he's in the robot insane asylum. So because of being in there so long, he thinks he's an actual robot. I'm sorry. Again, that's kind of funny. And then basically, Bender introduces the other members of the Planet Express crew to Roberto, and then basically after Roberto meets them and he said nice to meet them, but when the police show up, he's like, hostages! And then basically what happens is, when Roberto is telling the police to back up because he's got hostages, and then he uses Zoidberg to show one of the hostages, and then Zoidberg says that he's helping, and then basically, the human officer mentions to him that, does he have any better hostages? Oh my god. And then basically Roberto tells them that to show him who's crazy, he'll begin by executing some of them, and then basically he points the knife towards the professor's throat, and he's like, ouch, that's going to bleed when my heart beats. And then he tells Bender that he's ignorant of the number between 1 and 10. Guess it, and he dies first. And then he says 56-ish. And then basically, Roberto gets annoyed by that, and then he's like, 56? 56? Oh man, now that's all I can think about. I'm gonna kill you. You no good 56ing. And then basically, that's when Fry shows up as a robot. And then Leela's wanting Roberto to kill her first instead, and then basically Bender's agreeing with it, and then basically Roberto's telling her to shut up, to stop telling him how to do this, and then basically that's when Fry shows up, and he still thinks he's a robot at this point, and he said that Fry's, when Roberto sees him, he's like, "Hey, Red, you're just in time to join the hostage situation. Which side do you want to be on?" And then basically, Fry's like, "The side that kicks your twisted metal ass." And then basically, Leela's telling Fry to stand back because he's too powerful. And then basically, Fry says that he understands what he is, and he says that he's a battle droid. So I want to protect the humans from crazy robots. And then basically, Roberto's like, "I'm not crazy. Don't you call me crazy. I'm just not user-friendly." And then basically, he says before he charges at Fry with his knife, he's like, "Let's see how much of a robot you really are." And then he charges at him, which then causes this can of oil to be ruptured. And he's like, "No knife can penetrate my skintanium armor." And then basically Roberto gets freaked out by that, and he thinks that he is a battle droid, and then he starts getting freaked out enough by starting to have flashbacks with his mom and stating that he's sorry he spilled his transmission fluid, and he's telling his mom not to welcome to the wall, and then he jumps out the window. And then after that, what happens is he lands and breaks the glass on one of his eyes, and then basically the human officer is saying that they're willing to listen to his demands, but I'm guessing they don't know that he's down there at this point. And then afterwards, Fry goes to free the others, and then Bender's thanking him for being a credit to his race, and he says that it's nothing. And then he sees that he's bleeding, and then he's like, "Blood? Robots don't have blood. I must be and then Zoid wonders that he might be his squid, and then he's like, "I'm human. Oh, sweet. And I am human," which basically means that he's broken free from his crate. In a sense, he's broken out of his mental craziness where he thought he was actually a robot when he wasn't the whole time. And then basically, that's sort of where this episode stops. So if you guys like this video when I post it, just please give this video the real best you guys can. And I will see you guys probably next time for the next video. And since I have that Twitch app, I just want to mention this before I end the video. I'm just gonna ask this because I will probably still do videos for Twitch for video games and stuff, and I'm working on playing some games right now. But so until I have a Twitch account set up, I'm just going to be using it to watch gameplay for now. But until then, guys, like I always tell you with this series, just please give this video the real best you guys can. And I will see you guys next time for the next Futurama video. But until then, like I always tell you with this series, fun on a bun.